Chapter 49. Something new begins. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17. The morning light filtered through the curtains in soft ribbons, catching the folds of the quilt and painting golden lines across the skin of two newlyweds tangled beneath it. Ruthie stirred first, her cheek resting against the rise and fall of James's chest. She didn't open her eyes right away. She didn't need to. She knew where she was. Home. Their legs remained intertwined beneath the sheets, the soft ache in her body, a reminder of the night before. Their first night. Married, safe, whole. James stirred, his hand instinctively sliding along her spine in slow, absent-minded strokes. His voice, rough with sleep, hummed against her hair.
Morning, wife.
She smiled into his skin.
Say that again.
My beautiful wife.
He murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple. She sighed, a quiet sound full of contentment.
I like how that sounds.
He shifted, propping himself on one elbow to look down at her. Her curls were wild and beautiful, a halo on the pillow. His thumb traced her cheekbone, reverent, as though still unsure whether he was allowed to touch her like this, love her like this. They kissed again, not with urgency, but with deep reverence. A kiss that said, I know you, I see you, I honor you. Later, beneath warm quilts and morning sun, their love deepened again. Slower this time. Not the clumsy rush of discovery, but the unfolding of something holy. Ruthie traced the line of James's collarbone with trembling fingers. James followed the curve of her shoulder with lips that trembled too. They explored not out of hunger, but wonder. With every whispered, I love you, they were rewriting what love meant. The sound of their laughter tangled with sighs, breaths caught between trust and release. They didn't need to speak. Their bodies spoke in tenderness, in presence, in promise. It was not perfect, but it was sacred. After, they held each other in the stillness. James ran his fingers through her hair while Ruthie pressed a hand to his heartbeat. They had crossed a threshold, and everything felt different now. They had become one. Later, when Bear pawed gently at the door, James rose to let him out, bare-chested and barefoot, the waistband of his jeans riding low on his hips. Ruthie watched him move, struck again by the miracle of loving someone who loved her back so deeply. She wrapped herself in a shawl and joined him in the kitchen, her steps slow, her heart full. There was no rush, no schedule, only the hush of a morning that felt like it belonged to them. They moved around each other in quiet harmony. James brewed tea while Ruthie sliced fresh bread. Occasionally they would pause just to touch, his palm on her waist, her fingers trailing across his wrist, small gestures that said, I'm here, I'm yours. They ate breakfast on the front steps, watching the land breathe under a soft sky. Scorched trees stood tall, branches budding again. The garden, battered but not broken, had signs of new life. James took Ruthie's hand, holding it like something fragile and sure all at once. They loaded the ute later that day, tools, gloves, sandwiches, ready to help the neighbors rebuild. Their honeymoon, they decided, could wait. Love wasn't a retreat from the world. It was showing up for it, together. At Margaret and Neil's, Ruthie knelt beside lavender bushes, hands deep in soil. James worked the fence line, sweat glistening on his back. The community wove around them, Naomi dropping off scones, Micah offering help with the water tank, laughter floating across the garden like balm.
You've brought us hope,
Margaret told Ruthie as they packed up to leave. Ruthie blinked, surprised.
Hope?
Margaret just smiled.
after everything. You reminded us what it looks like.
That night, they curled into the couch with tea and tired limbs. James wrapped his arm around Ruthie and held her like the world had finally gone quiet.
I didn't know it could feel like this.
He said.
Like what?
She asked.
Like peace. Like I'm not fighting anymore.
You're not alone anymore.
She responded. And when they kissed again, it wasn't a beginning or an end. It was an echo of everything they had already lived and everything they were becoming. And later, in their bed, as rain began to patter gently on the tin roof, they moved toward each other again. Not for passion's sake, but because love is a rhythm, a return. And as James whispered promises against Ruthie's skin, and Ruthie cried softly without knowing why, something unseen stirred within her. A seed had taken root. Weeks passed in a haze of routine and tenderness. Ruthie began to notice a change in her body, small things at first. A flutter of nausea in the mornings, a sudden tenderness in her chest, emotions rising without warning, like tides stirred by a full moon. She told herself it was just the adjustment of marriage, the emotional settling after all they'd endured. But the sense grew, quiet and sure. Something was different. One crisp morning, Naomi arrived unannounced with a basket of warm sourdough and a familiar, searching look in her eyes. She stepped through the kitchen door as though she belonged there, as though she could already feel the shift in the air.
Brought bread.
She said simply, setting the basket down. Bear thumped his tail lazily under the table, and the kettle began to whistle. Ruthie smiled and moved to pour the tea, but Naomi's eyes didn't leave her face.
You look pale.
She said gently, stepping forward and placing a warm hand on Ruthie's.
Tired too.
Ruthie hesitated.
I've been a bit off.
She admitted, voice quiet.
Nothing dramatic. Just not quite myself. My body feels unfamiliar some days.
Naomi tilted her head slightly, her expression softening.
You think you might be pregnant?
The word hit like a hush falling over a cathedral. Ruthie froze, the teacup trembling slightly in her hands. She hadn't said it out loud, not even to herself.
I don't know.
She replied.
Maybe. I hadn't really.
She swallowed, voice thin.
I think I was afraid to hope.
Naomi reached for her again, steady and kind.
Then let's find out.
But I don't have a test.
Ruthie said.
I'll go into town.
Naomi said, already reaching for her coat.
You sit, drink your tea, breathe.
And just like that, she was gone. The minutes stretched long and strange while Ruthie waited. She sat in silence at the table, hands wrapped around her mug, heart wrapped around a maybe. The birds outside went on singing. The wind moved through the gum trees. And she sat there, wondering if her whole world was about to change again. Nearly an hour later, Naomi returned, cheeks flushed from the drive, holding a small brown paper bag like it was something holy. They didn't rush. Naomi placed the test gently on the bench, and they stood in the quiet kitchen for a moment, side by side, listening to the sound of their own breathing. When Ruthie nodded, they walked slowly down the hallway together. Naomi waited just outside the bathroom door while Ruthie stepped inside. The silence while they waited was thick with breath and heartbeat, and every prayer Ruthie hadn't dared to speak aloud. And then she looked. 2 lines, clear, bold, undeniable. Ruthie stared, hand flying to her mouth, her knees buckling slightly as she sat on the edge of the tub. A sound escaped her lips, part sob, part laugh, part unbelieving joy. Naomi was there in a moment, kneeling in front of her and gathering her close.
You're having a baby, sweetheart.
Ruthie didn't answer with words. She let the tears come. Naomi held her like a sister would, like a mother, like a midwife to the soul. Later, when the sky turned silver and Naomi had gone, Ruthie walked into the orchard, cradling her lower belly with both hands. The lemon trees had just begun to flower, and their scent mingled with the damp earth and the promise of rain. She stood still, the weight of the moment anchoring her. The wind picked up, gentle. It lifted the hair from her shoulders and kissed her cheeks. It wasn't just wind, it felt like presence. Rain began to fall, light, warm, almost ceremonial. She tilted her face to the sky, letting the drops trace her skin like a benediction.
I trust you.
She whispered. Soft footsteps soon came from behind. James. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her into his chest. His hand slid over hers, fingers threading together.
I knew I'd find you out here.
He murmured into her hair.
I needed to talk to God.
James kissed the top of her head.
Did he answer?
She turned in his arms, eyes glistening, voice sure.
Yes, he did. With his presence.
James pressed his forehead to hers. And there, in the orchard, soaked in rain and grace, cradled by the whispering trees and the gray sky above, Ruthie knew something new had truly begun.
Thank you for listening to this chapter of Healing on the Land. If this story has touched your heart, I'd love for you to come join me for the next chapter. You can find it here on this channel. If you'd like to support more Christian storytelling, you can purchase the full book or make a donation using the link in the description. Your support, no matter the size, helps us to continue writing stories of faith, healing, and hope. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. May God bless you, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.